Is today's Islam a failure or a success story? I came across a recently published article by the British-born Muslim writer Sirkil Abul Alia, which I'd like to share with you, and I think it has some fascinating insights. And he writes as follows: one could argue that Islam, despite what we are being led to believe, is actually a modern success story. Now, this might sound strange to some, perhaps to many, so let me explain, he writes. No doubt, media portrayals are negative, dark, and gloomy, and of course events around the world involving Muslims, or at least the ones we tend to hear about and that get most media exposure, don't lend themselves to much joy or cheer. So perhaps we as Muslims could be forgiven for feeling somewhat overwhelmed, feeling like little corks bobbing up and down in a raging sea of Western liberal modernity. Yet despite this, if we look at it more broadly, Islam is actually the unsung success story of modernity. How is that? Well, let's ask ourselves what religion is for. That will indicate how well or not Islam is doing. Here, there's much to give thanks for, much to admire about our current situation, and there's much more to look forward to in the coming future too, God willing. Islam as a religion must be judged in terms of: does it still offer authentic, practical guidance for salvation? The answer to that is a resounding yes, it certainly does. In fact, Islam continues to be relevant and practical to a growing number of people, and accessible to them too. And one significant reason for this is that Islam is universal. The Prophet, upon whom be peace, said, "I have been sent to the whole of humanity." This echoes what we read in the Holy Quran. Say, O Muhammad, O mankind, truly I am the messenger of Allah to you all. That's Surah 7, verse 158. Islam, therefore, has the inbuilt capacity to be native to any soil. And we Muslims must remember this and not practice Islam in a way which blurs this universality or makes it appear that it is an Asian or an Arab thing. It ought to be remembered that one of Islam's great founding stories is of a Gentile Egyptian mother, Hagar, along with her Hebrew Canaanite young child, Ishmael, and their inculturation into the native Arabian landscape, language, and cultural life. That's to say that Islam has the socio-spiritual technology to become native to any soil. Another reason it's a success story has to do with numbers. What the data shows is that the number of Muslims is increasing here in Europe, and that by 2030, there will be more Muslims than Christians in Britain. Related to this is the number of people who continue to convert to Islam despite media negativity and Islamophobia. And in spite of us born Muslims being asleep to our higher vocation of living and spreading the truths of Tawheed. Islam's powerful message of Tawheed, healing and hope, with its universality, still has a powerful appeal to people. Yet another proof of its success is that its mosques are overflowing. And I can say, by the way, for myself, whenever I've been to a mosque, the problem is finding somewhere to fit in rather than just being in an open, cavernous space like I have normally been in many of the churches I visited as a Christian. The writers continue, part of the reason for this, in fact, a significant part, is because Islam remains practical and livable today, even in the modern West, when other religions are capitulating to the juggernaut of modernity or simply being stamped out by it. I think the author here makes a very good point. One only has to look at the news for the mainstream churches in Britain and America and see what they're doing. And as he puts it, other religions are capitulating to the juggernaut of the zeitgeist, powerfully so. And he concludes, all in all then, and all praise is for God. Islam as a religion is doing what it says on the tin. It is still offering practical, livable ways of connecting with God and living godly lives, even in the midst of today's turbulence. So I think that's a lovely article, very optimistic and actually very profoundly true, I think, when you look at Islam from the position of its status as a religion and not just as a socio-economic phenomenon. I will link to the original article in the description below. I do recommend you have another look at it. Till next time.